Hi, my friends. Welcome to Inside the Minds of Authors. I'm DC Gomez, your host, and also an indie author. I'm thrilled you're joining me today for another fun interview with a passionate author. We're going to kick off this show with an exciting reading, so let's get started.
My name is Marie Long. I'm the author of Scarred, the Anderson Brothers Book 1 and Chapter 3 of the book. It's pretty much when Dominic meets Denise, how they kind of hit it off for the first time. I lead the way to Frank's garage, and when I arrive, I notice most of the lights are on and someone's moving around inside the shut glass bay door. Larry's working overtime again. I swear, he's the hardest working man I've ever met. Why isn't he the boss instead of Frank? The tow truck stops in front of the shop. Larry pulls up the bay door just enough to duck under. I park my bike while Denise and the tow man get out of the truck. Tow man hands Larry a clipboard, and Larry signs off on it. As tow man unhitches Denise's car, Larry grabs my arm and I wince. Damn, he's got a strong grip. He pulls me over toward the door to the office. Larry looks at me bleary-eyed. Dominic? What the hell's all this? Can't seem to get enough of this place, you know, I say, rubbing the back of my head. Larry simply stares. Look, I've got to finish replacing the timing belt, so... Larry, don't be mad or anything, but this girl was having car problems, and I told her that she could bring it by here for me to look at. I think it's the alternator. I can probably fix it myself. I just need the shop light. Larry frowns. If Frank comes by here and sees you... I'm just doing a favor, that's all. Trying to be a good guy here. Don't bullshit me, boy. I sigh and look toward Denise, who's watching Towman secure the chains back on the wrecker. Good night, Miss Ramsey, Towman says with a smile and flirty tone as he opens the driver's side door. I clench my jaw. Phony bastard. Denise smiles back at him, but unlike his fake-ass one, hers look genuine. Good night, sir, and thank you. Towman hops in and speeds off down the street. A sudden smack to the back of my head lurches me forward. I'm talking to you, Dominic. Don't you fucking ignore me. I turn back to Larry and stare at him. His overworked, bloodshot eyes are glaring. Oh shit. The last thing I want to do is make him angry. He used to fight Golden Gloves in his younger days. Rubbing the back of my head, I mutter, Sorry, man. I got distracted there for a minute. No shit. Larry folds his arms over his chest. The muscles in his forearms and biceps bulge menacingly. I don't know where to look. Yeah, so, can I use the small light to work on Denise's car? I promise to stay out of your way, and I won't use any shop parts. Damn right you won't use any shop parts, Larry says through clenched teeth. There's a long pause. Then sighing heavily, Larry uncrosses his arms and thumbs over to Bay 2. You can use the one hanging on the wall over there, the one with the orange cord. He walks back under the Bay 1's raised door and lowers it, but doesn't shut it completely. His head disappears under the hood of an SUV. Smiling, I hustle over to Denise. Sorry about that. I just had to straighten some things out. It's all good now. Denise tilts her head curiously. Are you sure it's okay for you to be doing this? I nod curtly. Yeah, and if I get in trouble, well, then I get in trouble. But Larry's cool about keeping quiet about me working after hours. It's not like I get paid overtime or anything. Ah, payment. About that. Nah, we'll talk about it when I finish. Now I'm gonna need you to steer while I push your car close to the bay there. Can you do that? Denise smirks. I know how to steer a car if you can handle the weight. Beautiful, smart, and sassy. I go behind the car while she gets in. Grunting, I push it up to Bay's 2 closed glass door. Denise pops the hood while I lift the bay door a little, grab the metal work light, and feed its long orange cord to the bottom of the partly open door. I almost do double take when I notice the transmission. Holy shit, she drives stick? That's hot. First girl I've ever met who knows how to drive one. The battery looks good, so I move on to the alternator. How bad is it? Denise asks, her voice is close. I glance up and realize she's standing beside me, leaning in a little. Her braids drape over her shoulders, down to her chest, where a scoop-neck shirt reveals a slight peek of the thin lace of her bra. I exhale slowly and feel my pants tighten. All right, Dom, keep it under control. I clear my throat. Let's see here. Hauling my attention back to the alternator, I move the light around as best as I can. I already see problems, but hopefully it's not as bad as I thought. Looks like you have a little corrosion around the connectors and a loose wire around your alternator. Nothing major, but that could be why you couldn't start your car. Think you'll be able to fix it tonight? I'm really going to need the car tomorrow to go to a study group. Or maybe I can just take the bus instead. No, I said quickly. I'll make absolutely sure your car is ready for tomorrow. All right, so how much is all this going to run me? Scratching the back of my head, I glance over at Bay 1, where Larry is still tinkering under the hood, oblivious to us. Business is business, but technically, I'm not on the clock, so this doesn't really count as business, does it? I mutter. Don't worry about it. She blinks. Quit playing. I can't let you do all this for free. I mean, you work here and all that, right? Yeah, but this is my own personal time. Favor for a friend, you know? But if you're gonna insist on paying me, then how about dinner? I bite my tongue as soon as the words are out of my mouth. What the hell am I thinking, asking her that? Denise snorts a laugh. Dinner? As in a date? I deflate a little. I'm such a fucking idiot. Oh, no, not really. Sorry, I was way out of line there. She doesn't reply, just awkward silence. Shit, I blew it. I'm hopeless. How long is the repair gonna take? She finally asks, as if she hadn't heard me. I swallow a lump in my throat and turn away, sticking my head back under the hood. I can't even look at her anymore. Uh, how about 2 hours, maybe? All right, I guess I'll go study in the meantime. She rounds the back of the car. I glance in her direction, careful not to make eye contact. She opens the trunk and pulls out a large tan messenger bag. You can use the office if you like, I say, pointing to the office entrance. There's a couch in there. She slams the trunk shut. Thanks. She leaves and I start on the repairs. My hands work practically on their own while my mind wanders. What the hell just happened? Why couldn't I have met someone like Denise before? She's not only physically attractive, her intelligence and self-respect make her that much more beautiful. And it's clear she knows her worth. I exhale, stop working, wipe at my palms. My thoughts have made them sweaty. The connections and wires are all repaired. I realize 2.5 hours have flown by. I get in the car and start it up. The motor hums and I smile. Yes, I hiss, doing a little fist pump. I glance through the glass of Bay 1. Larry's still hunched over the SUV, working away. I swear that man is a machine. I shut the car off and head to the office. Denise is sprawled on the couch among a mass of papers. A thick textbook sits open beside her. She looks up from the spiral-bound notebook in her lap, her eyes full of anticipation like an excited puppy. You're finished? I nodded. I dangle the keys. Yep. Should be good to go now. She beams and springs up from the couch. Oh, thank you so much. She scoops up her books and papers and hastily stuffs them in her bag. I hold the door open and she brushes past in a hurry, snatching the keys from my hand. For a split second, I catch her scent. Hair. She tosses the bag in the passenger seat, climbs into the driver's side, and starts the car. It works. I grin. Of course it does. I fixed it. She gives a little hollow-sounding laugh. Things suddenly feel awkward. What happens now? She leaves and I never see her again? I don't want her money. And she did thank me for fixing her car, so what else could I expect? Maybe the club or a movie or... So, dinner? She says. My heart stops for a second. My mouth goes dry. I try to speak, but my voice cracks. Denise smiles at my apparent idiocy. Dinner, I finally manage to mumble. Tomorrow? I swallow again. Oh shit, this is real. Yeah, tomorrow's good. How does Jade Fusion sound? We can meet there. I can come get you if you want. I take a deep breath. This is ridiculous. I know how to do this. No, I'll pick you up around 7. That okay? She pauses, then nods slowly. Okay, I'll be waiting. She turns and fishes through her purse, then pulls out a small pocket notebook. She scribbles on a page and tears it out. Call me tomorrow when you're about to leave, she says, handing the paper to me. I take the paper, which carries a hint of her alluring pear scent. Her name and phone number are written on it. Her handwriting is gorgeous. Thanks, Denise, I will, I say, smiling. She backs out of the lot and drives off. I sigh, watching until her taillights are gone. I got her number. I got her fucking number. My heart does flip-flops. I fold the paper in a neat square and place it in my wallet. Damn right I'm going to call you. I recoil the light cord, gather the tools from the toolbox, and return them to their proper places in the shop. She's quite a catch, Larry says from behind me. I wheel around. Larry's still under the hood. Huh? The girl. What, you think just because I'm under here I don't know what's going on? I was just doing a favor. Pretty big favor, Larry pulls his head out from under the hood. Repairing alternators ain't easy. You charge her? I frown. No. His face goes rigid. No. Look, Dominic, this is a business. Don't do that again. I couldn't charge her, man. I knew she didn't have that kind of money on her. Besides, I didn't use any shop parts to fix it. You used these lights, didn't you? And those tools? Larry frowns. Look, I won't say anything to Frank, but next time, you need to either treat her as a customer or do that shit at your own house. Got it? I nod once. Yeah, man, sure. Larry sighs and rubs his head. Sorry, kid. I'm just tired from having been here all day trying to get caught up with these repairs. It sucks being short-staffed. It really does, I mutter. I wish Frank would hire more help already. Hopefully soon, but for now, we'll manage like we always do. This ain't the first time this shit's happened. Larry is always optimistic. Part of the reason I always look forward to coming to work. In his eyes, there was always hope no matter how bad it gets. It was the attitude of a real father, like I always wanted, but could never have.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inside the Minds of Authors. I have the amazing Miss Marie Long with us, who just read us this fabulous chapter 3 of her book, and we can't wait to hear all about it. I like the chemistry. I like where you're taking us. So, madam, tell us a little about this book. Where did it come from? What is it about?
Well, it's about a young man. He's having problems finding love. Basically, it's his story of finding happily ever after because he's had such a hard life. He goes to college. The story takes place in Seattle, Washington, and he goes to the University of Washington, UW. He just kind of gave up on love and didn't think that he really would find anybody because, he kind of lives a routine life. And then, one day he meets somebody who's having some car trouble, and it's like, and kind of hit it off from there. This is book 1 of 3 books. He's got 2 other older brothers, so each book is about each of the brothers and how they find their happily ever after.
What genre would you put your series in? Is this romance?
It's romance. It's new adult romance, so it's like college age. Everybody's like between like the ages of like 20 and 25 or so.
What made you decide to write in this genre?
I was interested in challenging myself because I've never written romance before. I just kind of picked up some romance books one day. There was this one book I read by Jamie McGuire called Walking Disaster, which was actually told from the guy's point of view, and I actually fell in love with that. It was kind of fun to hear from the guy's point of view, so I'm like, I want to read more books about guys finding love. I just kind of gobbled it all up, all those books, and then I kind of, I can't find any more books to read, so I started writing my own, and I was actually inspired because brothers are kind of inspired by my own older brothers, some of their personalities and the things they do. So it was fun. This was a series that I wrote from my heart that really memorable for me. Everybody in the story is either something that's in my life or something that just inspired me, and I just kind of put it all in these books. So it's really, really, really dear to me.
Was it hard to write from a man's perspective?
Actually, no. It was actually pretty easy because, like I said, I'm the only girl of 2 older brothers. So, I was around guys pretty much all my life. Most of my friends were guys, so I can just pick their brains and could kind of get in their heads like, okay. When I was doing my research on some of the things, I was, asking them a lot of questions. They were giving me out looks. So I'm like, hey, it's just research. So
That's when you have good friends that they're like, yeah, I'm doing research. Give me
yeah,
some dirt.
exactly. I would say okay, when you keep in your refrigerator, because I'm sure, guys keep different things in refrigerators than females. So it's like, okay, let me just look at your refrigerator. And yeah, they just kind of look at me weird. It was a lot easier for me to write from a guy's perspective than I guess from a female's perspective, which is odd, I know.
It sounds like you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Book has a pace and it has a dynamic. I was
Yeah.
like, that is really exciting. It's fun to see it from a different perspective. I really enjoyed it. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that you did first person from a male perspective because
Yeah.
you don't see that a lot.
Yeah. I didn't think I could do that, but it really was easier for me because then I could really get into the head of the person, literally in his mind what he's thinking, and that really helped me to bring the story out because then I can really get his emotions across, his feelings, and it was really, really fun to write.
I like the conversations that he has with himself. What other genres are you writing on?
I've written paranormal romance. I actually started writing in high fantasy. Under other pen names, I've written high fantasy, I've written contemporary. I'm starting to write rom-coms and mysteries, pretty much everything. I'm challenging myself. So anything that I never thought I would write, I'm just challenging myself to write. And it's fun because then I could really just get all my stories out there, all my thoughts out there, and share it with the world.
Do you find the process of switching from one genre to the other difficult, or it's just coming natural to you?
It's not difficult. It's one of those things where if I don't feel like working on a certain project one day, it's I feel like, writing something mystery. Maybe I watch something on TV that's this might be awesome for my mystery. So I'll just focus on my mystery and just write that one day. I pretty much am always writing something. I have a lot of projects that are finished that are just in the revising phase. So lots of drafts done, it's just getting the revisions done. So I kind of tinker at each project, which I know some people may think that's not very productive, but for me, it kind of keeps me I guess we say sane in that, my brain's not going to be mush from focusing on something for over and over and over, where I can really expand my creativity in other aspects of writing.
You give yourself a break and going from one thing to the other, and you're always fresh because you're not actually stale in everything. Do
Yeah.
you write every day?
Yeah, I always try to make time to write every day. I don't really have a word count goal. I like to do like a chapter goal, like if I can just get a chapter done. Other times it's maybe just I just write maybe 1,000 words or so. Or just I want to get something down. I don't really have a set word count goal, but I really make an effort to at least get something down.
I am so impressed. Completely admire you. I'm a binge writer, so
Yeah.
I'm either on or I'm off. There is no in between. So the fact that you write every day, woman,
Yeah.
I admire you. Hands down to you. That is awesome.
Well, some days I may write only like, I don't know, 100, 200 words, or some days I might just, oh my gosh, I have this inspiration just to write all day. But I just feel, as long as you're writing something, you're getting that much closer to finishing your book.
I love the philosophy. I do. So how long have you been writing for and how long have you been publishing for?
Like pretty much most writers, they always say they're writing since they were a kid, which that was also me. And I published my first book. I actually remember the date. It was April 7th, 2011. I've been self-published since 2011. That was when I first published the fantasy books, and then I moved on to romance. I really got serious with it. It was around the time when I guess self-publishing was still in its infancy, but I was kind of doing my research before then, and I did see, the traditional pub and self-pub. And I actually did like query agents. I just tried just for giggles to see if I would actually get anything, any bites or whatever, which I didn't, but I wasn't really expecting much out of it, and so I self-published. I did try again with my romance and just see if I could get some bites. I actually did get a couple of responses back from some agents for actually the book Scarred, but it's like they wanted me to pretty much change the entire book and pretty much make it from like the female's perspective, and it was like it would change the whole point of the book. I actually talked to an agent at a conference and was asking about if they would take male point of view books, or if not, then why. And their reasoning was that they said male point of view books was a hard sell. Currently, the Twilight one and the Gray book seem to do pretty well, but after that, I was like, I'll probably just do this keep doing this myself. Not long after that, Scarred actually ended up winning like a bunch of awards, and I guess maybe they just don't know how to market it. I don't know, but there's obviously people that want to read those types of books, and I try to write the books that I would love, see on the shelves and read, because that was the only reason why I started writing, because I couldn't find the books I wanted to read. So I think that's why a lot of us write, is because we can't find the books we want to read, so we put it out there.
There's always an audience for every book. And
Yeah.
sometimes what agents and a lot of publishers are looking at is what's the mass market? What is the new trend? And sometimes that's not what everybody wants to read. So the fact that you found your niche and people are enjoying it, they're good quality books, they're loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do this yourself. You don't need somebody else to validate you. You got this.
Yeah.
You write in all genres and all the time. You said you get inspiration from everywhere. How does it come to you? Are you just walking down the street with like, ooh, I should write about that? How does inspiration hit you?
Sometimes that does happen. I'll just be walking somewhere and I just get the idea. Or, of course, the shower. The shower is always like the idea place. Or I might watch something on TV, or just a book I read, or just really anything. I mean, anything really draws inspiration. I'm always thinking of my books. Like everywhere I go, I'm always thinking of how I can make the next book better, or the series better. Or how does this sound like a series? It's just, I'm always thinking about my books like all the time. So.
You're passionate and it comes across. I love it. You've been in this business for a while. You have seen different stages. You have seen it progress. What are some of those lessons you have learned in this career?
I would say really just staying persistent. There's a lot of authors I remember back in 2011 times when like Kindle was just starting out and everybody was publishing. And a lot of those people now, like, you don't hear about them anymore. They just kind of either fell off the wayside, or it's just either they stopped writing, or they just did other things, or they just gave up. It's a long haul, especially for me, because I publish everywhere. I'm not just like on Kindle, because a lot of people only publish on one platform, and publishing everywhere. So it's a long game, and you really have to keep at it. I just now kind of realize that it is a long game, because I have seen so many people kind of just drop off because either it wasn't sustainable for them, or they just figured, oh, well, I'm not making it. So they get discouraged, but you really have to just keep at it. and really like making connections to the readers, like talking to them and meeting them and just making that connection. They're your fans. You want to like always have that lifelong relationship with your readers. I've seen a lot, and I've definitely learned a lot. And it's definitely also a mindset thing. You really have to be in that right mindset to just stay focused and keep writing no matter what happens.
How often are you publishing? Because you have a lot of projects.
I actually publish pretty slow. I'm not a book a month or book a week, whatever kind of person. I maybe publish maybe like 2 books a year, 2 to 3 books a year. I'm not very super fast. A lot of the stories I've been doing right now have been in anthologies. They're going to be republished again as single books pretty soon. Actually, a lot of my books that I have published, I just have to get around to like republishing them again. But I try to at least get at least like 1 to 2 books out a year if I can. It is a slow process, but again, like I said, it's a long game for me. I don't want to like just keep rushing and getting books out all the time. I just feel like I would burn myself out, and I'd rather go at my own pace.
And just enjoy it. Enjoy the
Yeah.
process and enjoy the connections. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Switching gears a little bit, we're going to talk about you now.
Okay.
Tell us, you have been writing for a while. You're obviously a passionate reader. What books have influenced you?
And there's so many different types. Well, I would say the books that have inspired me to write. It was a high fantasy series, a really old school high fantasy called the Dragonlance series, and that actually started me like writing because I was like so engrossed in those books. I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to write a book like this or fantasy kind of setting. Yeah, it just that really like got me like serious to actually start writing, and that was when I actually started writing fantasy first time. I didn't read as much, I didn't have the time to read as much back then, like seriously, like I really wanted to, but when I actually did, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't put the book down, or I want to write a story like this kind of thing. I guess like these days, I try to make time to read something. It's hard, of course, because I'm always doing so much. I try to read books that are sometimes outside of my normal genre just to kind of understand the process, and or books that have been popular and just kind of read a book and understand, okay, why was this book popular? What about this book? Like just studying it. Why do people like this book? What are some things that resonate with people? So just things like that. Like I'll read books like that just to kind of study and understand, to kind of help me get better as a writer as well.
Awesome. You're always doing research and you're looking at things from that perspective. Do you
Yeah.
have an author that has influenced you?
Tamara Weber mainly. She does the Easy and Unbreakable series. She actually got me into writing new adult romance. Also, I really like Phyllis Bourne's books because she writes a lot of like African American romance books, and she really got me into like really reading like all of her books. Like I'm a huge fan of hers. And I have so many author influences and book influences, but those are the ones that really stick out.
Those are great. Usually those are the things that you see translated in your own pages, is the things that influence you.
Yeah.
What are you currently working on?
Oh goodness, what am I not working on?
I know, that's what I was wondering. Like you got tons. Tell us.
Well, let's see. So I have another anthology submission that I'm working on for next year. It's book 2, contemporary fairy tale retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and it's book 2 of that, and it's a paranormal romance, part of an anthology called Once Upon Academy. Getting that done, and then also I'm working on finishing the prequel to my Anderson series book. It's supposed to be a pretty huge book. Apparently, it just won't end. It's a book basically the events happening before the events of Scarred. So it's kind of like a introduction to the brothers and everything. I'm having fun with that because it's like kind of along the theme of like Fast and the Furious movie kind of thing, and it's got some street racing, it's got like a little everything. So
Ooh, that is exciting.
yeah, it's like I'm trying to like finish this book, but it just keeps going, so it's it won't end. So I got a mystery series that I'm writing, and just different little projects, but those are the main ones I think that are kind of like going to be on the forefront.
Sticking with these series and your projects, do you consider yourself a pantser or a planner? Do you organize? How do you do this?
I like to consider myself a planner and a pantser, because
Okay.
I kind of jot a few things down of how I want the story to go, and then I just fill in the blanks as I go. But as long as I kind of have a set map of kind of where I want the story to go, then I just kind of do whatever. Kind of a mix between planning and pantsing.
I was wondering how are you keeping all these stories straight as you jumping from one to another without crossing over your characters?
I use OneNote, and I use different software. I have my folder for this book. I have like different folders for different books. I make sure I keep that all separate, but yeah.
I love it. So tell us, for an aspiring author trying to get into this business, what advice would you give them?
Honestly, just finish that book first. And you finish your first book, because there's no greater feeling in the world than like holding that first book in your hands. I still remember it since 2011. I still remember like just pressing that submit button. I think I published the book on Smashwords, and I pressed that submit button the first time. I was like, oh my gosh, here it goes. My very first book. It's going to go out to the world. And then when I actually got my paperback book in, that was when they was printed by CreateSpace back then. And I actually got the books in the mail. I was like, oh my gosh, I wrote this book. And we're just like holding it in my hand, that new book smell, everything. It was just, oh my gosh, I wrote this. This is my book. And it was just such an amazing feeling. And like, you won't feel that unless you actually finish that first book. So I would say finish that first book, do the print on demand, and have it sent to you, and just hold it in your hands and just like savor that accomplishment that you just, you finished your first book. Once you feel that, then that'll kind of be the motivation for you to keep going. So that's what I would say for any new writer. Just finish that first book and get it in your hands.
That is such a beautiful advice, and probably the first time I've heard it from that perspective, because I think sometimes we forget that feeling of complete amazement of when you do your first book. You were talking about it, and I had to seriously sit back. I had that feeling when they sent me my first cover.
Yeah.
And I cried. I was like, oh my God, that's my book.
I know. It's so weird. It's like, but you don't feel that until you just realize, I wrote this. I can't believe it. Like, it's is mine. You can't explain that feeling unless you just experience it.
I love it. So, are you ready for our next section? We're going to a lightning round. Are you ready?
All right.
Easy, fun. Don't think too much of it. Whatever comes to your mind, we're going to get started.
All right.
Fruit or vegetables?
Fruit.
Okay. Summer or winter?
Oh, definitely winter. I miss the snow.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a snow person. I love snow.
You are officially the first one I know. Congratulations. I'm impressed. Scooby-Doo or Snoopy?
Scooby-Doo.
Nice. So this is a little open-ended one.
Okay.
Favorite type of music?
Ooh, I like house music. I love house music. My oldest brother's a DJ, and he does house music, so I kind of grew up on that. I love like old school house music. Yeah.
I like. Okay. Here's an easy one.
Okay.
Sweet or sour?
Oh, definitely sweet. Sweet all the time.
Okay. Here's your last one. See what you can come up with this.
Okay.
If you could play any character in any movie, who would you be?
Oh, wow, that is hard. I've watched so many movies out there, and it's just, there's many characters that I'd love to play. I would say like Loki from from Marvel, because like I just love his character.
That's because he does what he wants, and has no remorse. He's just
Exactly.
like, here.
Exactly. Yes, there we go.
So, madam, it has been such a pleasure to have you on this show. Thank you so much for coming. Do you have any closing thoughts for us?
I really appreciate you having me. I don't do these often, so I'm just so honored to be on this show. I've been binge listening to a lot of your podcasts, and like I'm really honored to be here. So I really thank you for having me. And
I am so glad you came. It has been such an honor. You have such a diverse collection of works that I am so excited. So before we go, where can our listeners find you?
You can find me at marielongauthor.com. And of course, all of my books and everything are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Nook, Kobo, like pretty much everywhere. Libraries, you can get my book in the libraries. And also you can get my books on audiobooks everywhere. So wherever your favorite retailer is, my book should be there.
You have a diverse collection and available in diverse sources, so nobody can say I couldn't find you. You're all the way around.
Absolutely.
I love it. Amazing. It has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Love it. And to our listeners, hope you enjoy this amazing show. Go ahead, give us a like, share with your friends, give us a review, spread the word. Let's build our community. And once again, thank you so much for joining us inside the minds of authors. And we will see you next week with another amazing author. Thank you.